It is a Thursday morning, kind of mid-morning, and we've got clouds all on the coast. Inland, it's beautiful. Sacramento, you're beautiful. Bakersfield, you got a little bit of fog. Chico, you got a little bit of fog this morning. For the most part, though, along the coast, from the Oregon border south, as you can see from this picture, all the way down to pretty much almost San Diego, you've got fog and low clouds, certainly through parts of Los Angeles County and North Oxnard into Ventura. The marine layer is deeper too, so that's why it's pushing further inland. So this is all in preparation. Remember yesterday, if you watched, I showed you that kind of time lapse of Mount Tam and the fog increasing in depth. Well, that's the high pressure weakening. And as the high pressure weakens, the fog is able to get deeper, or the inversion lifts. And that's what this is. This is the inversion responding to what's out in the Pacific, which is low pressure, which is going to bring us more than just a couple of days of rain. Looks like it's going to be a really wet week next week, especially for Northern California. We could easily, based on the models, we're definitely going to see some urban and small stream flooding. But the thing I'll say, as we push through this, day by day is the way to go. This is California. This is California weather. I know we call it an atmospheric river. We used to call it a pineapple connection or tropical connection, or I can't remember what we used to call it, but it wasn't AR. AR sounds a little scarier, I guess. But you want to go 24 hours at a time on these systems because of the way they move. And I'll try to explain that as well. Because they're not really like a cold front that comes through and you can time it. It's like a fire hose. We've talked about this in the past. It's like a fire hose. It's a very narrow nozzle of water. But if you get in that nozzle area and the fire hose stays on you, like Marin County looks to be, and parts of Northern California, you're going to get a whole bunch of rain. And if you're just south of there, like in San Jose or Morgan Hill, you're not going to get a heck of a lot of rain at all. So I'm going to show you some models. Don't be overwhelmed by the long-rangeness of it, because all of this will change a lot as we go through the next week. Now, will it be wet? Yeah, it's going to be wet. The National Weather Service out of San Francisco, out of Monterey, pardon me, but that's basically the Bay Area Weather Service. They're touting the potential for rain. Southern California, you guys, the Weather Service down there is talking about this cold front that doesn't get there till Tuesday or Thursday. So for Northern California, it is immediate. This is our opportunity to start getting rain. Starts late tonight, early Friday in the North Bay, and kind of just keeps going through the weekend. But it's an on and off thing. First thing I want to show is this is the model. This is GFS. This is precipitable moisture, which just says, okay, this is where the water is. This is where the fuel is for the engine. The fuel, right? So the blues would represent, green is some moisture, but the higher concentrations are the blues and the yellows. And so what we can do is I'll put a circle around us right here. We'll click through, and here we go. And you see the little fire hose, right? That's not that wide. And as it lines up from Marin County, or it looks like Point Arena south to Monterey, you've got a pretty good target on you, a bullseye. This is Friday afternoon. And then this is Friday night. That's pretty aggressive. So this is fuel. It's going to rain. That's rain. It doesn't even need dynamics. We're going to look at the dynamics later. So the fuel, if you get enough moisture, you're going to get rain, especially when it's coming off the Pacific. When you add dynamics like vorticity and a jet stream component, you can get ridiculous amounts of rain, and that's what we're going to look at. So there is fuel available. That's what we know all the way through Monday early morning. In Southern California, you start to see something here on Tuesday, and then you see the Pacific. Okay, so really the only thing we should be paying attention to, because this is going to change a lot, is that guy right there. Okay, look, we've got fuel in the area. So now we go to the vorticity map, the 500 millibar vorticity, and here we are, right here. And this is not the fuel, this is the engine. This is what's going to make this fuel explode even more. So this is lining up on Friday morning. Remember, there's moisture available here. Look at this. That's vorticity. That's lift in the atmosphere. Not immense amounts, but enough. So that's going to be a lot of rain. And look at the line. If you can see San Francisco, the Bay Area, it's just a little notch there. But if you see it, you go, oh man, it is really Golden Gate Bridge North. It'll rain elsewhere, but Golden Gate Bridge North. Then it clicks down. This is Tuesday. This is your opportunity, Los Angeles, to get in. And the moisture is still available, but not as much. You see the vorticity kind of wanes a little bit, but we continue with energy. And not only energy, more energy. Now we're all the way into the next Monday, which is the February 10th. So this period, this next week, looks like it's going to be pretty wet. That model is going to change. There's no way around it. This next model is going to change. So we're just kind of going, I think 24 hours at a time. How much rain could we see? Well, it'll show us when we get to accumulation. But I take that with a grain of salt too, because you saw how narrow that fire hose is, right? It's a fire hose. And it's like, oh, I'm going to move a little bit because my arm's tired. You move a little bit and the fire hose completely misses San Francisco and dumps on Santa Rosa, which just happened the other day. So, and when I say dumps, I mean 3 inches in Santa Rosa, 200 of an inch in San Francisco. That's the kind of disparity you can get in these events. So, with that said, that's a quality. I just want to, because you're going to hear lots of stuff. And you know what it is? It's rain, it's California, and it's what happens. And this is what's going to happen. So, to some extent. But one of my struggles with with weather is there's so many outlets for weather now, and the way to get you guys to pay attention is to scare you, and that's what everybody seems to want to do, especially when it comes to weather. And I just, you know what? Yeah, it could be a massive flood event, but it won't be. It could be. There could be a meteorite hits the right. I mean, it's one of those kinds of things. So here's the model. Here we are. This is Friday afternoon. Okay. This is still raining. There's fuel. There's Saturday morning. There's Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning looks pretty good. That's when it starts to click through to our friends in Southern California right here. So that for LA, that's you guys on Wednesday morning. And just more activity coming in. So you hate to get too far out on these models because you really do start to get into fantasy land. So what's it all mean in terms of accumulation? This is the model going, well, if this all happens and the vorticity matches up with the moisture available, this is how much rain we're going to see and where. So we start off, this is through Friday afternoon right here. Let's go right there. And you can see, okay, so Friday afternoon into the early evening, you've got Marin County a little over 1/4 of an inch. It starts to increase as we get into Saturday morning. You see the bullseye on Northern California, which makes sense. Atmospheric rivers love topography. They love coastal hills. They love the Sierra Nevada. They love anything that they bump into perpendicular. So here comes the atmospheric river. Here is the coastal range. Right? Rain. Gets over the coastal range, goes out through the valley, hits the west slope of the Sierra Nevada, loads up, same thing, more rain. Orographic lifting is just the topography raising up the moisture, cooling it, less pressure. It drops its water. It drops a lot of water. And so here we are. This is Saturday morning. And then this Saturday afternoon. So Friday night into Saturday looks like a gamer for Bay Area. And you see that almost 3 inches of rain in the Marin County watershed. And then the bullseye over Lake Tahoe. Good buddy of mine is wanting to go skiing. And I'm like, you could, but you're going to see high snow levels at pass level. Going to be raining a little bit down at the lake. And it's going to be a storm that's going to keep going, right? So if you like storms, I'd go. But if you don't want to deal with storms, I wouldn't go. So now we're pushing into Monday morning. Look at that bullseye. Wow. And then you see it light up a little more here, right? So I'm just going through because now we're starting to get into the weird zone. This is all the way through the 15th. But I mean, a foot of rain, 6 inches of rain in Marin County. Is that 6 or that's a 5? That's like a 6. 7 inches up around Cape Mendocino. Southern California, you guys are an inch to 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. Does that mean that's going to happen? No, but that's this is what the models see. This is what all the metrics tell us could happen based on our numerical models. So what are we going to do? One day at a time. What's going to happen tomorrow? Bay Area, you're going to have clouds increasing, showers develop, and then Friday night into Saturday is the wet period, Bay Area. And then further south, down towards Los Angeles, you guys kind of get in on the act Monday night into Tuesday and Wednesday, and it starts to open up for all of us. This is the national map, just kind of giving you an idea of what's going on. They're gearing up. These are watches and warnings today. And these are storm warnings, winter storm warnings, flood watches. This is the Pacific Northwest going, yeah, we can see what's going, and we are on the north end of that thing. And the north end, as we've been seeing, really has a tendency to get, on these atmospheric rivers, really has a tendency to get a lot of rain. So the line has been drawn, at least all the way through here. You can kind of see these watches and warnings going up. They will shift further south tomorrow as we get into Friday, and we'll see California down to Monterey probably starting to throw up some flash flood, urban and small stream flood kind of thoughts, advisories. And by the way, Pebble Beach is this weekend, and it's probably going to be pretty wet, right? It's just north of the line or south of the line, but I think Pebble Beach will have some pretty good rain, especially as they get into the early part of next week. I think they play 3 days there, maybe 4. And then you see some rain out through the Intermountain area, out the middle of the country. So let's just take a look. This is this afternoon. There's the rain in the center of the country. There's the rain in the Pacific Northwest. And then there is Friday morning, if you're traveling, right? And so this storm here, that's pretty juicy. That's pretty good. That's a cold front, a warm front, a little occlusion here. And then you see things starting to light up on the West Coast. And then we'll go to Saturday morning, and you can see you've got rain all the way south down to Big Sur, almost down to San Luis Obispo. And that is what the models are suggesting. That's what we were looking at. So here is the Golden Gate Bridge right over here. We're looking out at Golden Gate Park. Ocean good right now. Very small. Tides there's some water moving, but it's not horribly dangerous. About as small as it gets. And it's going to stay on the small side for a few days. But the cloud cover, that inversion, right? Because that low got closer, it's lifted up. So now you're almost not even fog anymore, right? You're kind of getting into the low clouds realm. And then this is Ocean Beach. And kind of small. Tide's a little bit, I think tide's just going high right now. This is, I thought I'd give it another go because I think I got a plan for how to make this bad boy work. Watch this. Come on. Yeah. Mount Rose, told ya. And this is today. So it's beautiful up there. If you're on the coast in California, like, what do you mean? There's so much sun up there. Yes, it is beautiful on Mount Rose. And like I was saying the other day, Slide Mountain and Mount Rose used to be the same mountain. We used to go, I can remember you'd buy, one side was Rose, one side was Slide. Now I think the whole thing is Mount Rose. But I used to go there because the ski tickets were cheap. Like they really were, compared, like if back in the day Tahoe or Palisades would be $15 for a ticket, and you get a ticket here for like $8, which is awesome. That's back in the 70s. And then this is Heavenly, one more time, just because that is a money shot over the Lake Tahoe. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. And yeah, there you go. I was just thinking the other day, I was watching the snowboarder again, but it's funny because I remember, I'm old enough that I remember when snowboarding started, when Burton started, going up on the hills, and all of the pissed off skiers, like, kind of like, you know what it's like? When I was in Marin, it's like the equestrians versus the mountain bikers. Right? Although it's the equestrians had a good point with the mountain bikers. They're kind of a pain. I mountain bike, but if I'm riding a horse, I don't need it. But the snowboarders and skiers, the skiers were dicks because it was such an, skiing is kind of like surfing a little bit, especially in the old days. It was sort of a hardcore, you had the real richies that did it, but then you had like the ski bums, and they were legit. Like these guys lived in their cars and would ski, and they hated snowboarders. But now, as I've told you before, Bill Hutz is a good friend of mine. We've talked about this often. Snowboarding has basically completely changed the ski industry. It's changed the way the skis are made. It changes the side cut on the ski. It's made skiing more fun. So I guess the lesson here is when something looks bad and you're like, oh, this is going to ruin everything, like maybe crowds and surfing. I don't know if this is a good analogy, but eventually it might turn into something good. I don't know if it will for crowds and surfing, but for skiing, the snowboarding really, I think, helped skiing a lot, and it helped the industry a ton, right? Without snowboarders, it's a pretty high percentage of your clientele on the mountains. Although I do hate it is sucky when they blow by you really fast and they're going straight and they can't see behind them. There's that thing going on, and I snowboard too, so I know. All right, that was just a little bit of that. So models, let's do this day by day. Okay, so tomorrow's kind of going to cloud up in the Bay Area, south of Monterey, no big deal. Saturday, everybody's getting wet. Sunday, everybody's getting wet. And all next week, we have a series of storms that are going to be hit and miss, but when they hit, they're going to hit hard. Mountains are going to get a ton of snow. Don't plan travel up there next week. Things will change, but we're going to go day by day. All right. Thanks a ton for subscribing and all the nice notes.